What am I doing? Everything is horrible. Good morning. Long time no see. Again, because I keep disappearing. I'm just going to be doing a quick update. I'm not really going to be doing like a specific wrap up per se because I don't know where I've left off, like month wise or anything like that. So I'm just going to talk about the books that I've been reading lately and just some general updates as to what's going on, how I'm doing, and that kind of stuff. I feel like I'm doing better than I have in a while. I'm finally really feeling recovered from my surgery, my gallbladder surgery, which I had done of October of 2023. So it's been like, what, 8 months now? They say it's a minor surgery. They say it's out. I mean, it is outpatient unless you've got like some complications and, you'll be back to, it's very humid, so my hair is sticking to everything. They say you'll be back to yourself in 2 weeks. No. Your surgical incisions will have healed by then, but your body has a lot of adjusting to do. I personally have found my fatigue had increased, and it's taken me quite a while to really feel like myself again, and I don't think that's out of the ordinary. I think from a medical perspective, cleared to work after maybe 4 to 6 weeks of recovery, but just physically, emotionally, mentally, it takes a while after any kind of surgery to kind of get back on your feet, I feel like. So I'm feeling really good. I've started taking care of myself. Go me. The way that I've been doing that is by getting back to hot yoga. I started doing it years ago, like 8 years ago now, and I was doing Bikram. It is now just called hot yoga. Pretty much every place I know of has removed themselves from any kind of association with Bikram. You can Google it. Not great stuff. But basically you go into a yoga studio that is heated between 90 and 110 degrees. And I want to say it's like 40% humidity. And you work out in the exact same set of yoga positions in the exact order for 60 to 90 minutes. 90 minutes is traditional. You do every pose twice, except for like one of them or something. 60 minutes is crammed down, so you do most things once. You do a few things twice. And I've been doing the 60. I accidentally signed up for a 90-minute class. Didn't know it until I got there. So it was the first 90-minute hot yoga I had done in probably about 5 years. And it absolutely kicked my butt. But I was really proud of myself for sticking with it. I did have the initial thought of like, hey, maybe I'm just gonna leave because I don't think I'm up to this. But I made myself stick it out as long as I could, and I did the whole class, and I was very proud of myself. Just staying in a room that's 90 degrees and 40% humidity for an hour and a half is an accomplishment. Doing any kind of physical exertion during that time, even better. So starting at the beginning of June, I was doing 4 hot yoga classes a week and adding in a Pilates class, hot Pilates, every other week. So I basically did 2 hot Pilates classes in the month of June. Never done Pilates before. Oh my gosh. I thought hot yoga was hard. Pilates wrecked me. I was doing like half of what everybody else in the class was doing, but I was very proud of myself for doing it. Yeah, I can see that if I stick with it, I will have immense benefits from it. So after my month, I had like a really great introductory rate. The yoga studio was like super close to my house. The environment was very welcoming. The instructors, the other students, everybody was super, super, super sweet and encouraging, which really helps the overall experience. So I got like, I think for like $59, I got in a month membership where I can take as many classes as I want at any time. So I finished out June, or wait, no, it was May. This was May. Oh my God. Started in like May 2nd, which went till June 2nd. Then I ended up taking 2 weeks off while I kind of decided if I could afford the monthly membership, and they have 3 different tiers. You get the exact same thing, which is unlimited access to everything. The first tier is basically like you can't really afford a full membership, but you have other people in the community helping to sort of balance that out and support it. So it's a little bit less expensive. Then there's the regular membership, which is basically cost of like the normal cost of doing business and them, keeping their studio open. And then there's another tier on top of that that's a little bit more expensive that is called the supporter, I think. With the supporter package, you pay a little bit more because you're in a financial position to pay more, and your paying more helps offset the under cost for the people who can't pay. And it's kind of based on like an honor system. There's absolutely no questions asked or anything. You just pick which one you can afford, and then they kind of just ask that if you're in like an underpaying one, when your financial situation improves, if it does, consider going up 1 or 2 tiers to support other people. And I've just never seen anything like that done. And I just think it's super, super cool. And I'm taking advantage of it because I am now I decided my health is worth it. My mental health, my physical health is worth continuing with a full membership. But I am doing the underpay one because I don't have a job yet. So in 4 weeks of doing hot yoga, I saw huge differences in every aspect, and other people saw huge differences in me. From a physical aspect, I have more energy, my flexibility is coming back, my strength has increased, my endurance has increased. I've gone down a clothing size. I actually don't think my weight has changed at all, but I've definitely gone down a clothing size, and that feels really good. That feels really, really, really good. And for that to happen in 4 weeks, just from doing hot yoga and naturally eating better, because I have to fuel myself properly in order to do yoga and not die. And it's just been very easy and natural, and I'm just thrilled. Mental health has been way better because I'm getting physical exercise, I'm getting the adrenaline, I'm working out that stress. And, exercise is good for your brain. I think dopamine? It releases dopamine. I don't know. It releases feel-good chemicals. And my goodness, do we all need a little bit more of that? So yeah, so that's what I've been doing. I did it this morning. I'm trying to stick to 4 days a week of hot yoga, and I'm going to try to do a 1 day of Pilates a week. We'll see how that goes. It's super intense, and there are days I just don't have it in me to do it. But I'm feeling so much better. And I just wanted to share that with you guys. And so if anybody's interested in doing it, but if you have any questions or concerns, please leave a comment down below. I'd be happy to talk about my experience with hot yoga with you. It's super important to hydrate. It is super important to replace electrolytes, but I don't think it's anything to be afraid of. It can be intimidating, especially if you're somebody who really doesn't like heat, but I find that the heat helps me do the yoga postures, increase my flexibility, and be more comfortable in my muscles and my tendons while I'm working out. So that is a big reason why I prefer hot yoga to just another kind of yoga. What else? I just booked my first job in voiceover. I just attended a live webinar 2 days ago where they talked about, you just auditioning is the job. You keep auditioning. You do 100, you don't book anything. Normal. You do 200, you don't book anything. Normal. You do 300, you don't book anything. Normal. But now you have data. Now you start combing through your data to find out where you're most successful, where you need to work on things. And I came away from that thinking, I've made a horrible mistake. I suck at this. I am never going to be good enough to book anything. I'm certainly never going to be good enough to make any kind of living or supplement my living with this. What am I doing? Everything is horrible. And then the next day I booked my first job. It's a tiny job. It is a minuscule job. It is like a page long of explainer lines on how to navigate a specific website. It's going to be used in some internal company video, and it was like $100. But I booked it. I booked my first job, and I could not be happier. And I did a few more auditions that same day that I put a lot of work into, and I was really proud of the product that I put out. It'll be a while before I learn whether or not I booked it, whether or not they even listened to it. Statistically, I will not book those jobs. So I'm not like getting my hopes up, but I'm very happy with what I did. And I really think that is what's important. So I got a little boost yesterday, and my final files got approved this morning. Payment has been approved. So I completed my first voiceover job. Oh, other jobs. I have also been applying to just regular jobs through Glassdoor, Indeed, LinkedIn, looking for part-time work still, remote work. Has to be remote, or some of the stuff that I've applied to, it at least had to be hybrid. A lot of places are like, oh, it's hybrid, but you must be in the office at least 3 days a week. And I'm like, at least indicates that you probably want me in more than that, and that is not hybrid. I don't care what anybody says. So it's been frustrating, and I get, oh, everybody wants a remote job because it's so easy. I don't need the job to be easy. I don't need the job to be simple. I simply need to work for a place that respects me as an adult and as an autonomous individual who is skilled enough to do the work. If you think I'm skilled enough to do the work while sitting in an office chair at your facility, why is it any different for me to be skilled enough to do the work sitting in my office chair in my home doing the work? Like, it doesn't make sense to me, other than people are terrible managers. And after 13 years of mostly terrible managers, I'm just not willing to put myself back in that position at the moment. I'm also looking mostly for part-time work because I still want to be focusing on my voiceover. I want to be building up my talent and my skills and my client base and transitioning to that to hopefully be my full-time income. So to do that, I can't really be working 40 plus hours a week at another job, even if I'm working remotely. So I'm still just looking for part-time work to just bare minimum meet the bills. I've been doing DoorDash, which I have some thoughts on. If you guys want to see a video of my experiences with DoorDash, let me know down below in the comments, and I will, if you guys want it, I'll make the video. But basically, I sometimes make enough at it to meet my bills, and other times I don't make nearly enough. It is very up and down. So I'm looking for something a little bit more steady. So along those lines, I have an interview on Friday. It is a part-time, somewhat seasonal changes, but like right now it would be between 20 to 25 hours a week. And then between like October-ish through February-ish would be closer to maybe like 30, 35 hours max. Considering what the job is, I don't think it would actually take me that long. It is hourly, which I've been salary for so long. Hourly is going to be an interesting change to get used to. But it's a good hourly salary. If I was looking to get like a career going, maybe it's a little on the low side for like what I was getting paid. But it's still a pretty good salary, hourly rate pay. Anyway, interview on Friday. Very excited about it. There are 3 open positions for the exact same job, so they're going to be interviewing multiple people. They'll be picking 3 of them. My biggest concern is they think I'm overqualified. And to be fair, I am. But I am well qualified for this job, and it fits everything I need, fits my lifestyle, fits my schedule, and it ticks all my boxes of work that I'm interested in with the flexibility there. It's a 100% remote company, which is amazing. And it has the level of hours that I need and want. And getting into winter, I'm fine with my hours increasing because I would be supplementing if I'm falling short on, how much I'm making. I would be supplementing with DoorDash. As it gets into winter and it's snowy and icy here in Michigan, I don't want to be out doing DoorDash. So if my hours are increasing, I'm fine with that. Hopefully this video will be up before my Friday interview. Send me some positive vibes and thoughts, and I appreciate it so much. I'm very excited about this, and I really want this. And it's only one of 2 places that responded, and the other place responded back, thanks, but no thanks. So really, really, really hoping for some good news here. Other stuff, I've been visiting a bunch of tiny libraries. One good thing about DoorDash is I see a lot of tiny libraries, and then I make note of them, and then I go back and I visit the tiny libraries. I actually have a tiny library video coming, and I have a tiny library book haul because I have found some great tiny libraries. And I know it's Little Free Library or Free Little, I don't actually know what it's called. Is it Little Free Library or is it Free Little Library? I don't know. But I call them tiny libraries because I cannot be bothered to call them by the correct name. Some of them are so cute and charming, and some of them have had such incredible books. I found two that had a bunch of Book of the Month books, hardcovers, the Book of the Month logo, and I recognize a lot of these books from watching other booktubers and seeing them, be sponsored by Book of the Month and seeing these books out there. And then I'm finding incredibly good quality Book of the Month books in these tiny libraries. Now, I haven't really I think I maybe grabbed one, but the others I'm just not interested in. And even if a book's in great shape and it has a beautiful cover, if I'm not going to read it, I'm not taking it away from somebody else who might really enjoy it, So anyway, look forward to that video for my tiny libraries. Really cool ones. And then I've just been focused on trying to make myself feel better, healthier, happier, less stressed, less overworked, because even without a job, life is work. It's very difficult. It's very stressful. And so I've just been trying to do little things to help myself along. So I'm going to tell you what some of those are because they're great little tips and tricks that I think anybody can use and benefit from. So one of the things is I've started making specific ice cubes. Okay, I know, stick with me. I know it sounds weird, but I don't know if you can see there's a grape in there. What I have done, I love lime in my water. A lot of people like lemon. I prefer lime. I don't find it quite as astringent tasting, but I buy a giant bag of limes. It takes me forever to go through them and then they go bad. And I'm one of the things I've been trying to work on is decreasing my food waste. Either I don't get to ingredients soon enough, or I make something and then I don't finish it and the leftovers eventually go bad. So I can't tell you how many limes have gone the way of the dodo for me. So it finally occurred to me, freeze the lime juice. Why did it take this long? I don't know. I don't know. It is one of the best things I've ever done. So a long time ago, I learned the hack freeze grapes, and then you can put frozen grapes in your glass of wine to chill the wine without diluting it as the ice cube melts. I don't really drink wine, so I don't remember why I exactly did the frozen grapes thing, but I had a bag of frozen grapes. So what I did is I took one grape per ice cube and I put it in, because if you get a giant ice cube full like this, just lime juice, your drink's going to be way too sour. You just need a squirt of it. So I put in the grapes and then I filled it in around it with lime juice, so there's a lot less lime juice per ice cube. Worked great. Alternatively, what you can do is either make very, very thin ice cubes like that, or dilute it, like squeeze your limes, lemons, whatever you want, and then dilute it with water and freeze those, in the correct ratio so that you have, when you only need one ice cube. This is my thing about it. I try to get it so I only put one ice cube in a full glass of water and I get just the right amount of lime. It has been great. I don't waste limes anymore. I'm not constantly cutting a lime and squeezing it, and then the lime dries out in the fridge because you only use like a little part of it each time. I'm loving these ice cubes. The other thing that I've been doing this freezing for a long time, especially in the summer month, I make my own cold brew coffee because it's way more cost effective than going to Starbucks. And now that I don't have a job, it's more important. Okay. Sorry if there's any camera changes. I've been talking for about an hour, finished my recording, and realized my recording just out of the blue stopped at minute like 20. I've been talking to myself for 40 minutes. I believe I left off at cold brew. I make my own cold brew because it's way more cost effective and I don't have the money to be spending. But what I do for the cold brew is I also make specific ice cubes because I don't like regular ice because it dilutes the coffee. But what I do is I make my favorite flavored coffee in a French press, really concentrated flavor, freeze the cubes, throw them in my cold brew, because then I get like subtle flavor, because to me like a hot cup of like flavored grounds coffee is too strong and it usually doesn't taste all that good to me. But in concentrated ice cubes, I get those diluted into regular cold brew coffee. Tastes fantastic. So love that. Try that. And what I also found is that people lie about silicone. They tell you it will not stain and it will not absorb smell. They're liars. Don't listen to them. It absolutely stains. It absolutely absorbs smells and flavors. And if you make coffee in silicone ice cube trays, everything else will taste like ice cubed coffee. But I finally figured out a good way to clean them. Bleach does not work. Vinegar does not work. Scrubbing does not work. Cooking them in an Instant Pot with soapy water, or not soapy water, but like vinegar does not work. However, vinegar and baking soda and letting it mount Vesuvius over itself, not only visually interesting and fun to watch, leaving it like that for 15 minutes cleared like 80% of the residue smells and flavors in the silicone, and I highly recommend it. I think that's it. I think that's most of my like generic babbling life updates. I've been watching a lot more anime, and I've been playing a lot more video games lately, and I would love to talk about them, but especially video games are something that I've really wanted to incorporate more in my channel, but I want to talk about more critically the way that I talk about books, the way that I dissect books, or at least the way that I want to dissect books on this channel. I don't always succeed in doing that because I just babble, but I'm not really going to go into them now because I kind of want to like put effort into that. But I have been engaging with that medium more, and it's been really good. I've been finding some really good stuff and really good games, really good anime, and I've been really enjoying that. It has cut into my reading time, obviously, quite a bit, but honestly, for me, it's worth it, and it's a good balance. But speaking of reading, let's go through my books again. This time, it better keep recording. First book that I read after my last video was A Day Late and a Dollar Short by Terry McMillan. All of these are audiobooks. I don't have the brain capacity for physical reading right now. Terry McMillan did the female voice for the audiobook, and I don't know the male voice actor for it, but they both did a fantastic job. So Day Late and a Dollar Short, it follows a Black family in Las Vegas. Well, the parents are in Vegas, their adult kids are kind of spread out everywhere. And it starts out with the mom in the hospital after a severe asthma attack. She's got COPD and asthma, and she had a really, really terrible attack, landed her in the hospital, and she's starting to reminisce about her life. I want to say she's in her mid to late 50s, maybe early 60s, kind of that retirement age. And she's reflecting on her relationships with her husband, with her, her children, their childhood, their teenage years, their adulthood, and how those relationships exist now, and how she wishes they were different. Her and her husband are separated. And, you start out in her perspective and you hear in her own head the memories of her children and the memories of her husband and the memories of these relationships. Sorry, my hair is going everywhere and it's so sticky and humid that it's just driving me crazy. And you think from her perspective, you're like, yeah, you are right. You should feel exactly the way you feel about these scenarios because look at the evidence of what you've recalled. And then it flips to her husband's perspective and you're like, oh, I guess I should have a little bit more sympathy for him because he is a whole person who has his own impressions on these harsh words and these, accusations and whether they're true or not, and how he's at fault for certain things in their relationship, but how he's also not at fault for other things. And then you start hearing from the perspective of each of the children. And my gosh, these are 4 of the most different people you could possibly have. And they have very fractured relationships, both with their parents and with each other. Life circumstances, moving to different places, and, each having different childhood experiences because each child's childhood is unique. And their perception of what their siblings went through is valid for how they feel, but it may not be reality. And what they think, the golden child maybe had and all the privileges that they had and how great and easy they had it. And then you see it from the perspective of the golden child and how stressful that was and how that has set them up for failure in a lot of ways in their adult life. It's just fantastically written, fantastically narrated. And I loved how thoroughly real and complete each of these people were and how authentic and well fleshed out their voices were. You really got to know each person. You really got to sense their frailties and their expectations and their dreams and their disappointments. It was just so good. You even get a little bit of that with the grandchildren. So all the children are adults. They have their own families now, some of them. And it's just so good. I will say, though, there are some trigger warnings. So in my opinion, the way that these subjects were handled with a lot of grace, a lot of delicacy, but raw and real in them. So I can't say what will or will not trigger anybody who may have, suffered trauma from these things, but I don't think it's not gratuitous, if that makes sense. But some of the trigger warnings that I personally noted were addiction, alcohol, some drugs, racism, obviously, child abuse, financial abuse, infidelity, medical trauma. Some of these can be very, very minor as well, but just depending on people's sensitivities, I just kind of want to be upfront about that. But I think it is well worth the read. I think I gave this book 4 stars. It was so good. Okay, then the next book that I read was, I just read all about family trauma, apparently. This one is A House Without Windows by Nadia Hashimi, an Afghani woman. Her book is about Afghanistan after the U.S. inserted itself and, they ousted the Taliban and they brought democracy to Afghanistan and things are going to be so much better. There's still a heavy American presence at this point in the story. But the main character, Ziba, she lives in a very remote area, so very little has changed for these people out where they live. She is found one day next to the dead body of her husband. He was murdered, brutally so. She's covered in blood and she's in shock. She can't speak. She manages to survive the angry mob that is all of her neighbors trying to kill her. And miraculously, she actually makes it to prison where she's then going to be put on trial. That's a miracle in and of itself. Most of the times in these scenarios, the woman would have simply been murdered. Her children are obviously taken away and put with her husband's family. And you learn pretty quickly that this guy was not a good guy. There's definitely warnings here for domestic violence and alcohol abuse. So you follow her in her prison, the relationships she starts to form with her cellmates. And it's an all-women's prison, and most of these women are in for not crimes, like not real crimes. And even according to the penal code that is being introduced in Afghanistan, some of these women really should not be there. They're there for suspected sex before marriage. No proof. Suspected sex before marriage. Infidelity. Disgracing their family by running away. Stuff. And this forming of sisterhood. But it's done in a very realistic way where it's not like, 1 week and then they're all like best friends and they're telling each other their deepest secrets. It's a very actual, natural, and realistic blending of 4 completely different people in completely different stages of their lives and circumstances and classes of society and backgrounds, and how they slowly begin to form bonds of trust with each other and at varying levels. Now, the other part of this story follows, what was his name? Yusuf. So Yusuf is a young man, I want to say in his early to mid-20s. He was born in Afghanistan. His family fled to Pakistan when the civil wars were getting really, really bad. And then they managed to get from Pakistan to the United States. They set up in New York. He and his sister, 2 sisters, were educated in the United States. He became an attorney. And he had the dream of going back to Afghanistan as an attorney, working for a humanitarian organization to help Afghanistan implement more humanitarian judicial laws. and to see that people get a fair trial, to see that people get treated fairly, and that they are not continually persecuted and executed for things that they should not be executed for. So he ends up with Ziba's case. She refuses to tell him anything. She will not tell him what happened. She will not admit guilt. She will not admit innocence. She just will not talk to him. She doesn't think that he has any way of actually helping. It's really interesting. So part of it is his story, his fight to get the judicial system is implementing new laws, but especially in some of these more rural areas, they're ignoring them. They're just like, well, this is what we've done for, centuries, and so we're going to continue to do things this way. I don't care what the law is. This is what we say, and what we say goes. So many women are just being killed, without any kind of trial, without any kind of actual laws being applied. So he is insistent on this case, and there's something about it that he just cannot let go. So even though his client is refusing to cooperate, he refuses to let this go. It's just a really fascinating story. It's so beautifully written. Ziba depends on solitude and poetry that she writes to kind of keep her sanity. And so you'll kind of see these beautiful poetic things sprinkled throughout. And it's absolutely stunning, and it's very moving. I highly recommend this book, but it's not a light read. So be prepared for that, but 4 stars. I definitely recommend it. The next one I read was Arsène Lupin versus Sherlock Holmes. So my experience with the character of Arsène Lupin, and I apologize if I'm butchering that pronunciation. I don't speak French. I've never taken French. I cannot pronounce anything properly in French. I'm trying to mimic the audiobook narrator as best as I possibly can. So my first experience with the character was from the either late 80s, early 90s anime, Lupin. The animation style looks so old to me. It could even be older than that. But anyway, very raunchy, very immature sense of humor from what I remember seeing as a kid. I really didn't like it when I was a kid. I might feel completely differently if I rewatch it as an adult. But I knew at the time that he was based on like an actual literary character. So I was looking for something light. This came up as, I think, like a daily deal. I think I got the audiobook for like $2 or $3. This is so good. I was really nervous because I adore the character of Sherlock Holmes. In really any iteration that I've seen, I love the character of Sherlock Holmes. My favorite is obviously the BBC Benedict Cumberbatch Sherlock Holmes. And also my favorite Watson is the BBC Watson with Martin Freeman. But that aside, I love literary Sherlock Holmes too. And I was not sure if I wanted to read this series of stories because I'm like, well, one of them's got to lose. And it can't be Lupin. He can't just get caught. Like, he's got to have a bunch of adventures. But like, also Sherlock Holmes is not going to let Lupin get away. So I wasn't sure how this was going to go, and it went great. First of all, I think they did the character, even though he's Sherlock Holmes in this, obviously copyright issues, he did a really good job with writing him. I felt like his personality was very close to the literary Arthur Conan Doyle version. It felt very realistic to me to have Holmes in this setting and speaking and acting the way he did. And the banter between them, the cat and mouse game between them was super entertaining, and the outcome was very satisfying, honestly. So I really, really enjoyed this. I think I gave it 5 stars. Is it the most well-written literary piece? No. Did I have a heck of a time with it? Absolutely. After this, I don't know the actual name of it. Oh, there we go. The Extraordinary Adventures of Arsène Lupin. These are by Maurice Leblanc. Don't actually start playing, I don't care. I forgot it keeps playing after you lock the phone. Okay, so Arsène Lupin. Just great. I love the character. I'm not going to say he's Robin Hood because he doesn't like give his money away after he steals it, but he steals it from people who you're like, yeah, you can steal it from them. He also steals very specific things. 1, for the challenge, but 2, he just likes certain things. Like he likes collecting historical antique things that have a really interesting backstory. And whether he's, the person may not know what it is that they have in the first place, or they might, but he just is, it's interesting to see how and why he picks things. It's interesting to see the mystery unravel. So it's actually kind of told similar to the way that the Sherlock Holmes series are written. So in the Sherlock Holmes series by Arthur Conan Doyle, John Watson is the narrator. He is basically Holmes's companion, and he catalogs and writes down their adventures, and that's what you're reading, is Watson's written account of their adventures. So in Arsène Lupin, I don't know if the guy is actually named, but basically it's the same thing. Lupin finds somebody and they strike up this weird friendship, and then he finds out, oh, you're Arsène Lupin, and he's fascinated like Watson is with Holmes instead of repulsed. And so Lupin tells him all of his adventures, and this guy writes them down, and that's what you're reading. And it's very fun. It's just, they're quick adventures that are, I think, well written and well thought out mysteries. You do have to suspend disbelief a little bit, but really, what don't you have to do that with, right? But if you're looking for something fun and quick, and maybe you're a big Sherlock Holmes fan, but you've run out of Sherlock Holmes type stories, you've read all the Conan Doyle stuff, you've read fanfic, I don't know about fanfic. You know what? I would not recommend fanfic. If you're just like, what am I saying? I'm gonna stop talking. But if you're looking for something along those lines, but maybe from a flipped perspective, the perpetrator, the burglar, the bad guy, I would highly recommend checking out Maurice Leblanc's series of stories of Arsène Lupin. Fantastic, honestly. This is my problem with recording. This is the problem I struggle with actually in my auditions and voice recordings. The more excited I get, the more quickly I speak. And the more quickly I speak, the quicker I run out of breath, which is not great when you're working to become a voice actor. Breath control, super important. I gotta slow down. Anyway, that is my babbling, rambling update. Thank you so much for spending some time with me. If you have any comments about anything or any questions about anything, please leave it down below, whether it's about DoorDash or anime or video games or weird stuff to freeze and then drink later. Just anything, comment down below. Just comment. If you made it to the end of the video and you don't know what to comment an apple emoji. Comments really, really, really help the channel. They help the algorithm to know, hey, this is something that people actually enjoy. So I'd really appreciate any kind of comment, a thumbs up, a like, subscribe if you're interested. And I will be back hopefully shortly with my tiny library video. One of these days I'm going to get to my Count of Monte Cristo video. I'm still working on that. And then I will be giving you guys an update hopefully soon on that job interview on Friday. So I hope you're doing well. Please take care of yourselves. Please take care of each other. And I'll see you in my next one. Bye.